if you have them here, they won't hear all of that.
Okay.
So it's just like if we're like in the background, you know, they won't really hear it. So they just think we're like weird.
You're right.
Okay. So, Alexandria.
Yeah.
Were you born in Alexandria?
No.
Okay, I was just checking.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like,
No.
you know.
I'm actually named after Alexandria, Virginia.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if you were.
my dad was purchasing something from an infomercial when my mom was pregnant, so and it shipped from there.
See, I thought you were going to tell me like I was conceived there.
No.
And I'm like, I've been there. Now it's awkward. Okay, so what's the story that when Micah's like, she's got an amazing story? What's that story? What got you into working in recovery?
Well, so I worked in mental health for about 9 years.
Okay.
So I got my CNA license and was working on a med-surg unit and decided I don't want to wipe ass anymore. And so I went
That wasn't your career goals?
No,
and
it
the
wasn't.
saints that do that, right?
And so I went to the inpatient psychiatric unit to work as a mental health tech and fell in love with mental health and
so needed.
it really is,
Yeah.
and there's such a stigma to it, and so I kind of worked up
But
from there.
we're getting over that because we're
Yeah.
helping this conversation. Every conversation that's had helps to remove the stigma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it's, you know, they say that like our experiences are like in our gut. And so I
Yeah.
think there's more because not because we're talking about it. Like people who say that, I'm like, no, if you know what I mean? Like it's not because we're talking more. It's because people are becoming more aware and we've got all these cumulative experiences that are affecting our chemistry and we got to.
And I think
Right?
people are realizing how much you're surrounded by it as well within their own family systems and friendships and stuff.
Right.
And that it's, you know, that it doesn't really set
I
apart.
joke
Everyone
back in
deals
the
with it.
day that, you know, the guy with OCD just had the cleanest farm. But he's there, you know, wringing his hands, being like, "Oh, the chickens are pooping," you know. You know, but boy, was it a clean coop the next day. Say that 5 times fast, right? So you're working in mental health. Are you married? Do you have kids?
Not married.
That wasn't a Utah pressure question, just in case you're worried.
I'm not married.
You know, it's
Never
okay.
been married, but I did have a kid when I was 16 that I gave up for adoption.
Okay. Boom. There's a story. Okay, so I have lost a child. Okay,
yeah.
and I had a hard time getting kids. And, you know, people would say, well, I would adopt if it were you getting my kid, you know, but it's hard to adopt somebody who's, you know, a block away because they're like, I don't look like you, Mom. I look like her, right?
Right.
So why did you decide to give your, because, you know, anyone born after 1972 has a choice not to be, their mother had a choice, you know?
Well, so my parents told me that when I got pregnant, if I kept him, that I'd be kicked out of the house. And
Oh, I wanted the story to be different.
so at the time,
I mean, but they weren't saying you had, okay. You kind of want the hopeless supportive family, and I get that. So they were saying kicked out, or you're on your own, you have to be an adult if you're going to make adult choices.
kicked out if I'm going to keep him. And so, and I think that at the time they were just trying to make the best, like knowing that it would move me in the right direction, like giving him up.
But I'm glad that, you know, I heard a quote one time that said, nobody have said they would support me if I kept the baby, but they would support me if I had the abortion, and you know, and you know, women,
they wouldn't have supported that.
they wouldn't have. So it was this is your one choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either adoption or I could choose to raise him on my own without.
At 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which obviously I couldn't do.
Well, I mean, you hear women that do it, and I just kind of feel like,
Yeah.
wow, because you know, I was barely supporting myself at 16, let
Right.
alone a kid, and you know,
Right.
daycare costs, and of course, you know, programs are getting to try to help people in those situations.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're 16, you have one choice,
And so
and I'm sure the guy's not around,
no.
so you've got some abandonment going on here.
So my young woman leader at the time was I was really close to her. I wasn't that
Right.
close with my mom at the time, and they were trying to adopt for 6 years, and so I approached her the day I took the test and found out I was pregnant, and they adopted my kid, and. And I don't regret the decision I made because I gave him the best life. And
no, I mean, it's just, you know, because I've lost a child, you lost a child, and yet, right? And so I empathize, and then I'm so happy for the young women's leader, and I'm just, okay, sorry, my mommy
No, you're
heart just
good.
like burst a little bit.
And so I saw him from age 1 to 3, and then not after that until last May, I started seeing him again, and
Okay.
I'm a part of his life again.
And why not in between there?
He was going through some psychological issues,
okay.
and so they're trying to figure that out without
Well, if you
it
worked
impacting
in
my
mental
life.
health, you would understand.
Yeah, I do now.
Yeah.
So when I got pregnant, I was a sophomore in high school, and I had him when I was a junior. And so I didn't want to go to Riverton. It's a big high school.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So I went
I'm
to-
from South Jordan.
Yeah, it's real close.
Yeah. I know that hood. So it's for
Really
those who don't
judgmental.
know, it's very, very conservative, very, everybody's kind of the same, and very, very suburbs. So, sex is happening, but nobody's going to, necessarily talk about it.
Yeah, and you
know.
get stigmatized if you're
And, of
you're
course,
pregnant.
the kids that were now are, right?
But yeah, they're doing the same thing.
Right.
So I decided for my junior and senior year to go to itinerus in early college high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
And I graduated with my associate's degree.
Oh, congratulations. Wow. So you kind of figured out how to get some work done and everything. Emotionally, that you don't have your child. I mean, just because you're 16 or 26 or 36, I mean, how...
It was hard.
yeah.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
It definitely got easier, but I mean, now that I'm a part of his life again, every time that I say goodbye after seeing him, it's like ripping off that Band-Aid.
And he
it's
knows
been hard.
who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you guys frame that with him?
Oh, he knows. And so when I first started talking to him again, he asked me, his sister asked me, well, if you're Heston's mom, why would you, why is he with a new mom? And
Because love involves sacrifice.
And my son is like, she was too young.
He
he understood.
that gives it, that's almost like a nice package to it. You know what I mean? Like I have a friend that was adopted and mom was older. And I'm like, everybody who was born, first of all, mom had a choice. Abortions existed since 1972. There was a certain form of, I want to give you life, right? And it's every woman's decision, but I hate seeing women get forced into it too.
Right.
Because the consequences of having a child are big too.
Right.
I mean, when I've had my first successful pregnancy,
Your body changes.
well, I mean, this is my 6th pregnancy. I'm
Wow.
29 years old. Everything is perfect,
Yeah.
right? I mean, my husband decided to leave his good-paying job and go back to school, but
That's a different-
poverty's fine, But the first day I came home from the hospital, I'm like I was a medical interpreter. I mean, I'd been a baby. I had all the things that I needed to be a mom, and it was like, oh crap, now what? And I'm like, oh, it's me. Okay, big girl panties, let's go, right?
Yeah.
So, if I feel that way at 29 after praying to have a kid, at 16, it doesn't change your heart. It's just the capacity to be able to give, financial security and possibly emotional security as well.
Right. I
But
was
it
still
doesn't
a kid
change how
myself.
you feel.
Yeah.
The heartbreak of losing your child and, like you said, the Band-Aid being ripped off.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a mom until I went through pregnancy, and I loved it. Ever since I wanted to be a mom again, and just waiting for the right person and stuff.
And I'm gonna tell you something I tell moms who buried a child. It's healthy to talk about that. And I just don't want you, when you get married one day, when you have kids that you get to raise, to ever put any shame around that they have an older brother.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That they have that, and that part of being an adult and part of love is that we sometimes have to hurt us to help the other person. Not hurt us bad. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm saying.
For the bigger picture.
Yeah,
It was for him. I did what was best for him to have a normal functioning family, and
and they're a good family and all that.
He was meant to be with them. I really feel that.
And so you, by 16, revealed your character to be resilient. And that is what I call hot.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
Yes, thank you, Alexandria.